Oh, hey, it's you!
Wait a minute. You're right-handed! You're not the...
Did I hear something? It can't be!
Oh, it can be. Do you not know that it is I, film critic Moreno? Yes, I'm you from another universe, one in which all left-handed people are right-handed.
And everything else is exactly the same?
Indeed.
So, what are you doing here?
I'm here to warn thee that the end is coming.
I've noticed nothing out of place.
Oh, haven't you? Haven't you found that your memories of the universe are a bit contradictory?
Well, now that you mention it, the shows don't seem to flow together anymore.
It's because the fabric of space-time is being disrupted by the well of discontinuity.
You're right, everything has been off since I've thrown Paul in the well.
But that's just it. You didn't throw him into the well. I did.
Oh, what?
Yes, I was the one who created Laserdix Reviews.
Indiana Jones, our own location in San Francisco.
Hello and welcome to Moreno and Barnes at the Movies.
Actually, we call this Laserdix.
I thought we agreed to go with at the movies.
No, because, no.
Whatever.
Then what have I been doing this whole time?
Your me created the Cine-cool reviews back in the late 90s with your, but not my, ex-wife.
Well, if you opened the well, then how did it affect my review universe?
Because you opened the well at the same time in this universe.
Okay.
You were disposing of the body of your wife's ex-lover, Tilly.
He was still alive in this... or is it this universe? I don't even know anymore. We're a murderer?
No, only you. My me is a law-abiding citizen of the right-handed universe.
So, what can we do?
We must work in our own universe side to seal the gap before it comes.
What is... it?
That's a revelation for another video.
Oh, okay.
But first, I have to get back to my own world.
And how do you do that?
Well, not with love's first kiss, thankfully, for the both of us.
Let me guess. A review?
What else? But it must be of the worst possible film that comes to mind.
Yes. Troll 2.
Ugh. You would have to pick that one, wouldn't you? Freaking pistachio pudding, lime jello, and green Kool-Aid will never be the same. Ever. Again.
Well, that's just one of the delicious offerings this film has to offer. What did you think about the acting? Was it a bit more tasty?
No. Where did they find the little red-headed stepchild with all the freckles? Who drove the story along? Who says must at that age? Seriously?
We did.
Well, we did, but we're a special case.
What about, like, the parents? Weren't you compelled by their acting?
No. Dad was like a Mormon cowboy. Pretty much. The scene where he tightens his belt to ease the hunger pains, I totally thought he was going to rip off his belt and beat the crap out of that kid. I felt bad for him for 2 seconds.
Well, keep in mind the film was made in Utah. Even though the filmmakers were Italian, they went to Utah and found real live Utahns to be in the film because they weren't going to pay real actors. Okay, well, if you don't like the acting and you don't like the food choices, the makeup effects, what about those great trolls? Wait a second, did I say trolls? I meant goblins.
Yeah.
Because this is set in the little town of...
Nildog!
Which is goblin spelled backwards!
Yeah. That kid was so bright he found it in a mirror. I was with him until that point, and then I thought, boy, you're dumb.
Well, you know, it's the whole Stephen King's The Shining thing going on, you know, Red Rum, murder. The film has some merits that you're not pointing out. For instance, it's avant-garde approach, you know, with, for instance, the great popcorn scene in which the two people are starting to make love with a kernel of corn and it starts popping the popcorn. It's like French New Wave.
Yeah, but that's also another food that will never be the same to me again. And the scary goblin lady, the queen of all goblins, I suppose, the one that's all knocked up on her Stonehenge business, I wasn't a fan.
Were there any things that you found intellectually engaging, made you think, wow, I could write a great analysis of this?
A couple of things, actually. One was the fact that they used food to display their horror and the utter abjectness of these scenes, you know, where they're eating people. How disgusting is that? But, you know, they don't actually eat people because they're vegetarians and they get all hacked off at you if you ever mention eating meat, being a carnivore. Mm-hmm. Which I'm assuming we both are, to some degree. Yeah, tasty. Generally a trope that you see with women, which you get here in this film as well with the scary Goblin Queen.
Mm-hmm. Definitely monstrous feminine.
Ugh.
Anything else that you felt really stood out?
Homoeroticism in this film. And Elliot was all closety and crap. You know, you expected him to be a little bit more okay with the fact that his girlfriend is way more butch than he is.
Yeah, doing...
yeah, she's pumping more iron than I think either of us could.
And he actually challenges her when she won't let him touch him and says, you know, why are you trying to turn me into a homo? Which is interesting because most of the time we see him, he's choosing hanging out with his buddies in an RV in the middle of the woods rather than being with her. Despite all of its issues, I feel that in some ways it does accurately capture the sort of fairy tale world that it's shooting for, and that it evokes in the opening scene in which the ghost of his grandfather is telling him this bedtime story. And I think on that, if you look at it from that perspective, the storyline makes sense in its not making sense. The whole thing is this sort of child's fantasy of dealing with the death of his grandfather.
I felt for him in the sense that he's having to deal with this really terrible thing that happened to him. But as his mother said, the mother whom I did not believe at all,
you didn't even...
I lost him too!
Talk about the same mother whose favorite song is Row, Row, Row Your Boat.
This is true. Will you sing that song? That song that I like?
Row, row, row your boat.
Row, row, row your boat.
I'd say that its entertainment value as pure schlock actually elevates it to a 2-star review for me. If you really like these types of just terrible, terrible pieces of crap, this will appeal to you because it's unintentionally funny from beginning to end.
I was about 3 hours in the viewing of an hour-and-a-half long film. I hated myself by the end of it, but I'd still probably give it 2 stars. Why? Even though I hated the fact that the acting was hokey and that the story was convoluted and unnecessarily so. I liked the bloopers. So would you like to close?
I put the cool in Cine-cool.
And the balcony is closed.
Count on it! I can't believe it. Somehow I totally forgot to have my other self do a PSA. What am I going to do now?
While I was being accosted, I managed to capture some PSA footage of your alternate self.
Really?
Yes! Roll that beautiful bean footage.
Time for another MA PSA, where I tell you what you can learn from the movies. Vegans are scary! Like these goblins! Even though there are only 4 types of them throughout the entirety of the film, they're still scary. And they're still pretty much out to get you. They will turn you into chlorophyll green pistachio pudding. You can trust me, at least on that.